Section 2. Video 12. Conditional rendering Part 1. We have three main objectives in this video. 1. We will show you how to render elements conditionally using if. 2. We will show you an example of using a variable to store elements to help conditional rendering. 3. We will show you how to use the logical AND operator. In React, you can create distinct components that encapsulate behavior you need. Then, you can render only some of them, depending on the state of your application. Conditional rendering in React works the same way conditions work in JavaScript. Use JavaScript operators like if, or the conditional operator, to create elements representing the current state, and let React update the UI to match them. We will first add a user greeting component. And a guest greeting component. Let's import React and React DOM at the top of the file. Next, we'll create a greeting component that displays either of the components depending on whether a user is logged in. This component will have an isLoggedIn property. We will destructure isLoggedIn from props, which is commonly done in React. And now, we will add the if condition. Let's render the greeting to the DOM. We will pass the isLoggedIn prop as false. If we pass true to the isLoggedIn prop of greeting, then we get This example renders a different greeting depending on the value of isLoggedIn prop. You can use variables to store elements. This can help you conditionally render a part of the component while the rest of the output doesn't change. Consider two new components that represent log-in and log-out buttons. First, the login button. Next, the logout button. Next, we will create a stateful function component called login_control. It will render either a login button or a logout button and a greeting depending on its current state. We will render this login_control to the DOM. Within the login_control component, we will add the isLoggedIn state getter and setter, with the initial state being false. Next, we will define a button variable. We will assign the logout button to the button if the state is logged in as true. Otherwise, we will assign the login button to the button. Now, we will return the greeting. And the button under it. Save the file and try it out in the browser. Sometimes you might want to use a shorter syntax. There are a few ways to inline conditions in JSX. You may embed any expressions in JSX by wrapping them in curly braces. This includes the JavaScript logical AND operator. It can be handy for conditionally including an element. Let's add a mailbox component, which shows you how many unread messages you have. We will destructure the unread messages prop from the props object. Next, we will return some JSX. Now, we will hardcode a messages array. Under the h1 header, we will add a JavaScript expression in a JSX container. It will have a condition, which checks if the length of the unread messages is larger than 0. We will follow the condition with a logical AND. Then we will add an element, which is an h2 header with some text inside. The logical AND operator works as follows. If the condition is true, then the element renders. If the condition is false, then the element does not render. To summarize, we showed you how to render elements conditionally using if. We showed you an example of using a variable to store elements to help conditional rendering. Also, we showed you how to use the logical AND operator. In the next video, we will continue talking about conditional rendering.